Hey folks, here we are at Dinosaur Adventureland in Lenox, Alabama. This was a gravel pit for years. They dug down about 30 feet of all the gravel, sand, and clay out of here, and they stopped right here at this cliff. You can still see these gravel layers. These layers go all the way to North Carolina, 500 miles. Why would there be gravel layers? It's gravel, sand, clay. The kids are taught in school that each of the layers of the earth is a different age. The geologic column is one of the biggest lies ever taught in the history of the world. The geologic column does not exist. There's no such thing as a Jurassic age or Triassic or Mississippian. It's all baloney. All these layers formed at the same time. They say the top layer is younger. I say, really? Where did it come from? Every time people come to our tour here, we show them this little jar that I shake up. It always settles out into gravel, sand, clay. Gravel, sand, clay. Every time people come, we flip this little thing over, and it always makes hundreds of little bitty layers. Now wait a minute. They tell the kids the layers are different ages. If you shuffle a deck of cards, is the top card younger? No, they're all the same age. This geologic column is one of the biggest hoaxes ever. All over the world, petrified trees are found standing up, connecting all the layers. Well, how long does a dead tree stand around? Here at this latitude in Lenox, 31 degrees above the equator, we're turning almost 900 miles an hour. The sideways moving water at 900 miles an hour would take all the rocks and roll them against each other like a rock tumbler does, and round them off. All over the world, gravel is rounded. They call it river rock. No, this is from the flood. It was rounded back and forth by the tide going back and forth. These rounded rock layers go to North Carolina. If that's a river, that's a big river. 500 miles. All over the world, petrified clams are found. Normally when you find seashells along the beach, as soon as they die, they open. Well, and you hardly ever find a matched pair. But all over the world, petrified clams are found in the closed position. Petrified, closed clams. It had to be buried alive quickly. If the water came up 200 feet and came in at 900 miles an hour, it's going to make a layer of mud 50 feet thick in 10 seconds and bury the clam beds. They find petrified closed clams on top of Mount Everest, tallest mountain in the world, full of seashells. Today, the world's record biggest oyster is 14 inches. They find fossilized oysters in the mountains in Peru, 500 of them, all bigger than the world's record. Here's a guy laying on one. There's an 11.5-foot oyster found 2 miles above sea level. I think there was a flood. If the water came up 200 feet and came in at 900 miles an hour, it's going to knock all the trees down and bury them under a layer of mud and form coal. You know, coal is always found in seams, no exception. Sometimes multiple layers of coal. Coal, gravel, well, that's the tide going back and forth, a different tide. Every 6 hours, 12.5 minutes, you'd have a tidal change. Noah was in the ark for 880 tidal changes. The water came up, down, in, out, 880 times. It'd make all these layers in one day, not millions of years. We shook this up a few minutes ago. It's already settling out. Gravel, sand, clay. Give it a few more minutes, see what it does. It does it every time. The flood explains all the geology of the world. There is no such thing as a geologic column. One of the biggest lies ever taught to kids in school. They say during the Archean era, there's no such thing as an Archean era. This geologic column that they teach is the Bible to the evolutionist, number one, and it's an absolute lie.